Good morning. My name is Kaitlin Beck, and I'm an elementary music teacher, plant and cat mom, and resident recovering perfectionist. When Deborah asked if I would be willing to share a song that makes me feel brave, I felt compelled to say yes right away. Music has played such an integral role in my personal well-being and growth that it felt important to share. My reflection today is on the song Stay Gold, written by First Aid Kit. The Swedish sister duo sing harmonies that pierce the soul and lyrics that explore what it feels like to truly be human. Before digging into what the song means to me, let's set the scene by rewinding time. Picture this. It's 2008, and your freshman year of high school at Omaha Central has just begun. Fashion is centered around how many tank tops you can layer on top of one another, how many Hollister sweatshirts you have in your collection, all of which were paired with gaucho pants, a true choice. Social media consists of spending hours learning HTML coding to get your MySpace page looking just right, posting emo lyrics that convey the current state of your angsty teenage soul on Facebook and Tumblr, or spending time chatting with strangers on AOL Instant Messenger. It is starting to become clear that your worth is tied up in how you look. Made clear after peers see your 8th grade yearbook photo and say, "Thank God you don't look like that anymore." All of these changes feel fast and confusing, but luckily the music room has always been a soft landing place. I have always loved music and had a particular fascination with the boy band NSYNC, specifically their No Strings Attached album, as an early child. My grandmother and best friend had a beautiful voice and sang in the church choir at Benson Presbyterian Church. She inspired me to use my voice in the same way, though we never had the pleasure of singing in that choir loft together. I was heavily involved in music throughout my K-12 education, especially in high school choir, where I felt a deep sense of belonging and connection with the people I was making music alongside. In most other spaces at school, I felt afraid, alone, and very misunderstood. I didn't have the verbiage then, but today can see that anxiety and depression were affecting the way I showed up in every situation. In my highest and lowest moments during this time, music was the through line that kept me connected to a very spiritual part of myself that was ready to ask big questions about life. I can still remember the first time I heard Stay Gold. It was 2014. I was 20 years old and had made the move to Lincoln to attend Nebraska Wesleyan University, where my two dear high school choir directors had both gone. We had similar professors. The choir director had been there for over 40 years, and so going a place that they felt really connected to made me feel connected to them as I moved on from interacting with them in everyday life. I was studying music education and was in the throes of those really tough music theory and history courses, and that anxiety and depression hadn't really gone away. It had kind of ratcheted up a little bit even. When I first heard the song, I was taken by the tight harmonies being sung. You know that feeling when you hear a song for the first time, just the beginning bars, and you think, wow, this is going to be good. As the chorus began, I was humbled by the lyrics. They felt so true to me in that moment, and so many since, that Stay Gold will likely remain one of my favorite songs for the rest of my life. Johanna and Clara sing, "What if our hard work ends in despair? What if the road won't take me there? Oh, I wish for once we could stay gold. What if to love and be loved is not enough? What if I fall and can't bear to get up? Oh, I wish for once we could stay gold. We could stay gold." These lyrics spoke deeply to the concerns of a now 20-year-old woman. They exposed the small part in me asking, what if it doesn't all work out? While also holding the fervent prayer for things to just stay gold for once. When everything felt very out of control, this song helped me feel less alone in what I was experiencing. The sisters wrote this album in 2014, and it was released yesterday, in that year, and they were the same age as I was when it came out. And so feeling the camaraderie in these women that I loved the sound of their music and respected the questions that they were asking deeply, it just felt like it was okay to have those questions and that I wasn't the only one feeling a certain way. Now, 10 years removed from my first hearing of Stay Gold, I'm struck by the way these questions still exist in my mind and at the same time take up less space. Therapy has unlocked so much learning and healing for me around these feelings of inadequacy, and I have realized that the lyrics, "No gold can stay," or "and gold turns gray," are their own small blessing. We can hold the sentiments of wanting things to turn out okay and recognize that at the same time we don't always have control over the outcome. We can hold that tension together. These days, I'm trying my best to continue leaning into and learning from the discomfort while also embracing small moments of joy. I feel privileged to be in the elementary music classroom, helping my students discover what about music makes them feel alive, and being there as they grapple with some of the same questions that I did when I was their age. May we have the courage to show up for ourselves and others with radical care and compassion in the gray and the gold. May it be so.
Good morning. I'm Maria Walker, and I've been around the Abbey for a bit. If you don't recognize me, I'm a faithful 9 a.m.er, so that's where you see me most frequently. And so I am glad to be with you all today to talk a little bit about the ask that was made of me from Deborah. As I read it, I read the email that said, would you be willing to speak about a song that fills you with courage? And as I'm naturally prone to do, I immediately hit reply and said, oh yeah, sure, Deborah, that sounds great, whatever you need. And then I hit send and experienced deep regret. Because, even though I am a Enneagram 4 and love music, my family is filled with musicians, I could not think of a single song immediately that filled me with courage. We'll test that theory right now here amongst us. Can you think of a song like that, like pop into your brain that just fills you with courage? You can raise your hand if that's the case. Okay, Sangeetha, that tracks. Jeff, no, I was expecting a hand. No. Okay, in the back, some of that. That's good. That's good. But by and large, I'm feeling that most of you all are saying, well, that might take a minute. And so I thought, how can this be? How does my life not really require much courage? Like, am I that basic that I don't really need to go anywhere for that inspiration? So I reached out to my friends and said, hey, y'all, can you think of a song that fills you with courage? And thankfully, the response was similar to what I initially experienced, which was, wow, that's a tough question. I'll have to get back to you on that. And some days passed. I asked my colleagues, I asked my family, etc. And finally, my friends came through with quite a variety of songs. Hot in Here by Nelly. I will not reveal that person to protect their innocence. 24 Karat by Bruno Mars. All Right by Kendrick Lamar. Well, that's fair. Fight Song, the one that we sing here. Celebrity Skin by Hole. 90s folk say yes. And then Eye of the Tiger. And then I said, thanks so much, everybody, for sharing that. I'm going to be speaking at church on Sunday. Immediately getting responses, oh, this is for church? I'll send you my real list later. I did not read that list that they sent after that. So I thought, well, this data might be a little compromised. They might have censored themselves afterwards. So I'll go to another great data source, which is, of course, Spotify Wrapped. So I thought I'll look through my Spotify Wrapped for the last few years, what I've been listening to, and think, that will become the source of where I'll figure out the song that gives me the most courage. And as I read through those lists, a distinct pattern emerged. I wasn't quite convinced that it was songs about courage. Songs like Good as Hell by Lizzo and Raise Hell by Brandy Carlisle. I'm thinking, I'm looking for something, but maybe not courage. Kathy's like, maybe like a grit or something. And so I thought, well, maybe I need to check my understanding of courage since I'm struggling so much with this task. So you may be aware I have a daughter named Scout who, of course, was here at 9 a.m. So it's probably no surprise that the words of Atticus Finch, as written by Harper Lee in her book To Kill a Mockingbird, are really where I go to for my definition of courage. And Atticus said, it's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway, and you see it through no matter what. And so I read and reread those words, and it finally came to me. The song that I have loved for 35 years. I'm not 35, I'm a wee bit older than that. So it's been a while, and introduced to me in a pretty formative time in my life. This song fills me with delight, true delight. I feel fully charged. Every neuron is firing at 100%. And instead of blood flowing through my brain and my veins, I feel like it's like electricity. You may ever kind of felt that? Okay, yeah, right on. That way, when I hear it on the radio, it's not really played on the radio much, but or I see it live, it's the same thing. Like arms in the air, screaming the lyrics, letting the spirit move 100%. And I know that regardless of what they, you know who they are, say about what I can and cannot do in life, when I hear this song, I know I can do it. And I'm going to start anyway, even if I feel totally licked, totally beaten. And I'm going to see it through to the end. And so it's time for the big reveal for what that song is. And it is, it's also a test of your music depth. It's a song called Honeysuckle Blue by the band Drivin' and Cryin'. No? Okay. Anyone? No one? We had one or two. I always thought Sarah would say yes on this one, but she told me no. And also Jeff, a likely potential candidate. Or Melanie. So c'est la vie. Look it up. Hope that you enjoy it. But I will warn you, it's not that monumental of a song. I'm not really making a good case for it. Kevin Kinney wrote it, and he wrote it after seeing a kid on the street and really being curious about if that kid had ever seen beyond his current reality. It starts off like this. Feel the southern breezes and the southern wind blowing down around the corner bend. At D'Agostino's late last night, I saw a boy, 15, on the road with nothing in his pocket, his hand to the sky, and nowhere else to go. Can you see it or believe it? To send the corner man he's never been. So come with me, I'll show you where the dogwoods bloom, it's true, lost and found and lost again to the honeysuckle blue. That's a pretty basic song. He sees this kid on the street who may be experiencing homelessness, maybe not, and he's wondering, what's that kid done in his life, and what will he do? So not anything too revolutionary. But for me, it hits every time I hear it. And here's why. Because I see myself in that song, not as the young boy, but as the observer who's curious about what this boy has experienced and could experience in his life. It feels like a part of my story, and quite frankly, always has since I first heard it. And here's why for that. I knew from a relatively young age what I was meant to do in life. Some people refer to it as a calling or, whatever language you use around that. But I didn't know a lot in my early 20s, but I knew that. I knew that that was what I was meant to do in some capacity for my life. I knew that I was meant to see people, truly see them, and walk alongside them as they discovered their own meaning and purpose, and hopefully their own greatness. I'm meant to notice what is and who is in my context and wonder what could be for that person or that thing. And if I'm lucky, I get to be invited to join folks in that discovery, to help them dream of all that could be for themselves. So if you are one like me and struggling to think, I don't really know a song that fills me with courage, I offer you this. Perhaps where we all find things that fill us with courage are in words or songs in which we see ourselves and our own lived experiences. We recognize who we know ourselves to be, the self that lives deep in our hearts that sometimes we might be a little afraid to show because they have said, don't show it. It makes me uncomfortable. You're too this, you're too that. Be a little more mainstream. We've heard those messages and we think, I'll just keep that me to myself. But when we hear these magical words or moments or experiences that we have where we see ourselves, who we're meant to be in those lyrics, those notes, we're affirmed and we're able to courageously live how we're supposed to be. I think that is the most courageous act, to be exactly who you're meant to be. So even when you're feeling beaten down or silenced or feeling like you're totally licked even before you begin, I hope you can find something to tap into to encourage you to start anyway and to see it through to the end, to lean into what fills you with courage so that you may do the most courageous act, which is truly be yourself. And if you need a little nudge this week, because you think, oh, here's a moment where I can lean into that, but maybe you don't have the ready language to draw from, hopefully you'll remember me saying the words of Kevin Kinney. So come with me, I'll show you where the dogwoods bloom, it's true, lost and found and lost again to the honeysuckle blue. I got a ticket in my pocket to send to the corner man, because he's never been. Have you ever seen the Blue Ridge Mountains or the Chattahoochee or the honeysuckle blue?